Today we're at Berkeley Mall and we have a story. What if you are in a place of business and all of a sudden you hear screams, you hear somebody yelling, help, help, you hear somebody yelling, begging for help, the sound of desperation, the sound of danger, the sound of somebody in need of help. What would you do? Would you run to it, or would you run away from it, or would you just stand there? Well, today we want to talk to Chanda Best, and Chanda Best had that experience here recently at a local restaurant, and here's her story. Chanda, I'll ask you to tell us exactly what happened. Tell me what happened.
Well, exactly what happened, I was at a restaurant here in Goldsboro, and just got finished eating with a couple of friends of mine, and I heard a lady screaming. The first time, it didn't really register that, there was an issue, and then the second time I heard her, I knew that something was desperately wrong. And so the second time, it got me to my feet, and I took off running towards where she was screaming. And by the time I got to her, there was people standing around her, and I didn't really know what she was screaming about because she had her back to me. And when I got close enough to get to her, she turned around and she had a little baby in her arms. And when I saw the baby, he was blue.
The baby was blue. What does that mean?
Well, 99% of the time, if a baby's blue, he's obviously choking on something, he or her, because that's what kids do. They put stuff in their mouth. So 99% of the time, that's what I've always been taught. They're usually choking. So that was my gut instinct that this kid was choking on something.
So what's your first instinct? What do you do first?
Well, the first thing I did in that situation was I grabbed the kid from her and immediately started doing what I was taught to do, and put him in the right position, lowered his head down, gave him 5 back blows.
A back blow. What's a back blow?
Back blow is when you use the palm of your hand on the back of the child between their shoulder blades, and you give 5. It's actually pretty hard blows because you want to dislodge whatever that is that's making that baby choke.
Okay, now you knew the child was choking. That was a given, right? There was no question about it.
Yeah, I pretty much knew.
So there was no point looking in the mouth.
Not at that time.
Not at that time.
Because I knew it was a complete blockage.
Complete blockage. That's
right.
So you turn the baby over and whack him on the back between the shoulder blades.
That's right.
5 times. What happened?
He threw up a little bit. I felt some moisture in my hand because my left hand was under his chin. I was holding his head and holding it down, and so I was giving the back blows with my right hand, and I felt some liquid in my hand, so I knew that the airway must have cleared some because there was some liquid fluid coming out. And when I did that, I lifted him up and to see was he breathing, what was going on. And when I did, either it went back down or I knew he wasn't breathing at the time, so I had to go back.
And do it again.
And do it again. That's right.
You knew it wasn't right.
That's right.
Now, we're talking about an infant.
That's right.
An infant, and of course, I'm not trained in this area, so I would be afraid to hit him too hard or too soft.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't know what I was doing. Now, you're trained in this area.
That's right.
So how hard do you hit an infant like this when you know the infant's training without hurting him?
I don't know. It was just instinct, I think, because at that time, all I knew is I wanted him to breathe again. I wanted him to breathe again.
Let's have a demonstration.
Okay.
I want you to whack me in the back.
Like
I want you to whack me just
I
like
don't know
you.
if I...
Sure you can. Now,
No.
if I throw up or something, that's another story.
Right.
But now I want you to whack me
Okay.
just like I was having trouble breathing or something.
Yes,
Go ahead.
sir.
Hit me in the head.
I would say it was more than
Okay.
that. I
Harder
don't
than
feel
that.
comfortable hitting you that hard. Yeah,
Oh,
it was harder than that. Absolutely.
Okay.
I knew that there had to be a force to get whatever was lodged in there out, and it didn't matter.
But you had to get it out.
Yeah, that was the most important.
In a case like that, and I know the important thing is to dislodge whatever's there.
That's right.
Did you feel that maybe if you hit the baby too hard, it would cause damage?
I wasn't thinking that.
You're not thinking about this.
No.
Get that out.
That's right. And then we can deal with the other.
Deal with the other stuff later.
That's right.
All right, what happened?
Well, after the second time going down, I gave him 3 more back blows, and on that 3rd back blow, he started screaming. He started screaming and crying.
Okay.
So it worked.
And if he was choking, he wouldn't be able to do that.
That's right. It was the best sound in the world. It was the best sound in the world, that baby
So
crying.
the baby crying and screaming like that is certainly a good sound.
Absolutely.
What did the mother do?
She was screaming and crying also. I don't think she realized at that moment that it was dislodged, that he was okay, because I could still see that panic on her. She kept saying, "Is he okay?" And then that's when I assured her, "Yes, ma'am, he's fine. He's
Well, with
fine."
the baby screaming and crying, that is possibly alarming to a mother like that that's gone through this
Yes,
for the
sir.
last few minutes, and it had to seem like hours instead of seconds or minutes
Yes,
to
sir.
her. So when the baby is screaming and all that, what happens then? Did someone call rescue or?
I remember during the whole, I guess the whole thing, I remember hearing someone calling 911. I could hear them in the background giving like the address, "We're here," and telling them. So I knew that they were on the way. And then the baby stopped crying, and he looked up at me and didn't know who I was, and he had a confused look on it. And then he looked over and saw it was his grandmother, and he reached out for her. So I knew that his brain was still probably working like it was supposed to, because he recognized who she was and wanted her.
When a child is choking like that, there could be brain damage.
Absolutely.
The oxygen not getting to the brain could end up very seriously.
Yeah, in just a few minutes.
Now, and you know now that the child is okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You've talked to the mom?
I've talked to the mom. I've seen him. Actually, they came out to our church that Wednesday. This happened on a Monday. I invited them to church Wednesday night, and I was able to share that testimony of what happened, that, God put me there at that moment to help that kid. And so he was there running around, praising the Lord just like we were, that he was alive.
How old was this child?
He was 1 year old.
1 year old?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Now, I had alluded to the fact that you're trained in this area.
That's right.
What do you do?
I am a safety manager for Seeger's Fence Company, and I teach CPR and first aid, along with a couple other classes, but that's one of the classes that I do teach all our employees.
How often do you come to the restaurant you attended that night?
That was the second time probably this year that I've been in
So
that.
not very often?
Not very often.
You just happened to be at this particular restaurant at that particular time, at that particular night.
It was ordained by God that day, that night. Yes, sir.
You're trained in this, and you hold classes in this.
Yes, sir.
In CPR training. What are some of the misconceptions people have about CPR? What do you have to, when people come to your class, you try to teach them the right way of doing it, and they say, "Oh, I thought you did it this way." What are some of the misconceptions they might have, misunderstandings?
Well, one thing is they always say, "Well, I will never have to use it." That's one of the things I hear. They're like, "Oh, I got to take this class again," because you have to take it every 2 years. And they're it's like, "Oh, I've taken this already. I already know." But you might have to use it. I've been certified since I was 16. I'm 40, and that's the first time I've ever had to use it, and I am glad I've had to take it so many times.
So without your help that night, there could have been a very sad ending to that story.
It could have ended very, very sadly. Yes, sir.
Right. So they are under the impression they may never have to use this.
That's right. That's right.
You've been certified since you were 16, as I understand you to say, and now you're 40. That's
a lot of math.
That's
Yeah.
24 years.
Right. Yes, sir.
And you've had to use it now the first time.
First time.
Do you recommend this?
I recommend it 100%, because there was a lot of people standing around, didn't know what to do. Maybe they did know what to do and didn't react. I'd already made a choice before that no matter what, I'm jumping in. I've decided I'm choosing to do whatever it is, right, wrong, and different. That I've already, beforehand in any emergency. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, that was your training.
Yes,
That's
sir.
your training kicking in.
I believe so. Yes, sir.
All right. I want you to show me. We brought a friend here. This is your buddy that you use in your classes.
That's right.
So does he have a name?
No, just Baby Blue.
Baby Blue. Well, Baby Blue should have a name.
That's right.
All right.
That's what we'll call him.
Okay, Baby Blue. This is
Yes,
what
sir.
you use in your CPR training.
That's right.
So demonstrate to me, if you would, what you did that night to save that baby's
Okay,
life.
the first initial thing when I grabbed him, you want to put a hand under his neck because you want to support that head, and you want to put it under his chin because you don't want to block the airway. You don't want to block the nose or the mouth.
Okay.
And you also want to use gravity when you're dealing with an infant or a child that's this small. You're going to use gravity, so you're going to put the head down toward the ground.
Okay.
because whatever's going to be dislodged, you want it to come out, and it's going to come out the mouth. So you want it to come out and use gravity, and hopefully that's right.
Okay.
So your initial thing is to give the 5 back blows, and that's between the shoulder blades here. And you're going to just use the palm of your hand, the bottom here.
Right here. Okay.
And you're going to give the 5 back blows. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you're going to raise them up, and you're going to give chest compressions, and you're going to give 5 compressions, and you're going to continue to do that until it dislodges.
And then you do that again.
That's right.
And then you give him 5, and then you turn him over.
5 and 5.
5 and 5.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now the chest compressions here. How did you do that? You just used your fingers. Is that
That's right. You use your first 2 fingers, the pads of your first 2 fingers, and you want to use it on the middle of their chest, and you want to keep that head down. And when you're doing that, it's going to, maybe force whatever's lodging it in there out.
So that's
Yes,
another way to do it. And if that doesn't work, turn them back
right.
over again.
Do 5 there, and then 5 there, and you keep doing that until it dislodges.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then once it's dislodged, is everything okay, or do they need to be looked at by a doctor, or?
They need to be looked at by a doctor, because you want to make sure that everything is okay. I mean, in that moment, because it is a lot of force that you're giving the kid, and you definitely want to get some medical, advice at that time. Make sure he's okay, he or she is okay.
When you first got your training, who trained you?
I got my training through the American Red Cross, through NC State. Yeah, yes, sir.
Through the American Red Cross.
That's right.
And we happen to have a chapter here in Goldsboro and Wayne County. Just thought I'd mention that. 600 North George Street, 919-735-7201, if you're keeping up with that sort of thing.
Yes, sir.
All right. The American Red Cross at NC State.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you hold classes. Where do you hold classes?
I hold classes at work. We have 15 different offices in North Carolina and South Carolina, and I just travel to each office and do the training.
What do you do for Seegers Fence?
I am their safety manager, because we build fences, we install fence, we manufacture and install, so we do manufacturing and construction. So
just thought I'd mention that good fences make good neighbors. Who said
sir.
Somebody said that.
I don't know who said that.
Somebody said that, though.
That's right.
So a safety director there, and you travel to all of the Seegers Fence Company locations and hold classes.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Well,
Yes,
Chanda, I appreciate you're telling us this, as you're sharing your story with us. What would you recommend? Would you recommend everybody, as you mentioned a moment ago, get CPR training of some sort? Is there a particular, what would they learn first that's most important? Either the chest compressions, or if somebody has heart failure or something like that, what's most important?
Right, most important is we use a check, call, or care. First you want to check the scene, decide if you want to call 911 first or care first, and if you take that class, they go through the steps on exactly how you're supposed to deal with each situation. They go through different scenarios, so you know exactly what to do. Depending if it's a child, a teenager or an adult, that class will teach you what you need to do.
Okay, so take a CPR course.
Absolutely, take one.
Whether it's, and I believe Wayne Community College offers CPR classes as well.
There's many options you can take.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you talking with us very
Yes,
much,
sir.
and congratulations, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
You so much.
Yes, sir.
Chanda Best is with Seegers Fence Company, but she also saved the life of an infant here recently. Good work. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.